Hey everybody, it's Gypsy. So the other day I had dried a whole bunch of fresh basil in my pantry, and after it dried, I prepared it to put in an herb jar. And I was thinking, damn, I should have done a video about this. So anyways, it's not quite what I want because I wanted to show you how I did that. But what I want to talk about today is how you could be a full-time nomad living in a travel trailer, a van, a car, whatever, and still have fresh herbs growing. Now my youngest child, the one who's still in the physical realm, he often expresses concern about me having to load up all these plant pots. And to me, one can never have too many plants. I love plants, which is why I'm a green witch, I guess. But I really love my herbs especially. They're very useful and they're very lovely. But even though I believe there's no such thing as too many plants, my son was right. Too many containers, having to load them up every time I had to move someplace. Plus, at night I have found I have to bring my herbs inside because the little creatures out there, they like to eat them. Last year I had these gorgeous blooms on my garlic chives. I woke up one morning and all the blooms were gone. I lost all those seeds I could have saved. Now, as you're going to see in the video very shortly, my chives are at the same point. I have about, 10 to 13 lovely blooms on there. I want to save all those seeds, give some to a friend, save some for myself. So what I've started doing is bringing my plants in the house, except for the rodents don't care for my vinca vine, which that's just decorative. But I also found both my lavender plants they don't care for, and my bergamot, which is bee balm, they don't care for that. So those I can leave outside. So then I also put my bee balm in with my French lavender. This is called companion planting. Putting plants together that have the same soil and watering requirements. This is my vinca vine. This, I don't have anything else in with it. That was French lavender. This is called topped lavender. I have never seen it before, but when it blooms, it's different. It's got like these shoots coming off, and it's very pretty. So I'll have to share that when it blooms. My other herbs, though, I have to bring in the house every single night. So it gets to be a little bit much with all these pots. So what I did, I had these two old, long, they're Tupperware containers, I guess. One's Tupperware, I don't know what the other one is, but they're plastic. And I made those into little herb gardens, which I'm going to show you ahead of time. And what I did was I poked drainage holes in the bottom, and then I put rocks as the first layer before I put in my soil, and then I planted my plants. Okay, so being a green witch, I have a lot of plants, especially herbs. However, I'm also a nomad, and I travel around in my small travel trailer. My son tells me, "There's Persephone, please get out of my chives." My son always tells me I have too many plants to carry around. To me, there's no such thing as too many plants. However, my son was right. So what I did was make little individual herb gardens. So I took a bunch of my pots. Now here, as you see, I have some basil. I had 4 large plants, but they were getting to the end of their lives. So I propagated some, and I still have more to plant that are still rooting. And I planted some with my rosemary, and then I have some with my, this is common sage. So there'll be more basil and stuff in here later. Now, what I also do, something like basil, which I love basil. I use it a lot. It's my heritage, being Sicilian. We use a lot of basil. I had 4 large plants. Naturally, they come to the end of their life because they are annuals. So when I saw that they were starting to die back, I started clipping some and propagating them, rooting them. So what I do is I'll fill a container or glass with water, and I'll put it in there Basil roots very, very quickly. Let me see. I need the glasses for this one. Now this has been in here, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. I'm starting to get little root shoots here. Oh, this one has more. So these are almost ready to go. What you want to do is you clip off a stem and just slip off the leaves at the bottom before you put them in the water to root. So that Hi everybody, it's Gypsy from Gypsy Witch Creations. I would like to remind you that my back to school collection is on sale until August 31st. The good news is the discount went from 10% to 30%. So if you want to take advantage of this deal, get over to gypsywitchcreations.com and look under back to school. And I'd like to remind you also that I am now on Patreon. Please look me up there. The link is below in the comments. Oh, yes. Now, the rest of my basil plant, I hung with twine, natural twine, tied it in a bunch. I had about 3 bunches, and I hung them on the rod that I'm about to show you, upside down, in my pantry. That, because I'm in the Southwest, now dependent on where you're located. If you're in a very dry area like the Southwest, it only takes, I don't know, 2 to 3 days for them to dry. So this is in my travel trailer. This is actually the clothes closet, but I made it my pantry. And the bar where you hang your clothes, I used to dry my herbs. I had a whole bunch of basil up there just the other day, and it was ready. So I crushed that, and I put that in a jar. And then what I do is I take them down from my hanger, and I will again slip off the dry leaves onto like a paper towel. I wish I could have showed you this, but I didn't think of recording it at the time. And then what you do is you take the dried leaves a little bit at a time in the palm of your hand and you rub them together. And you do this until you get to the consistency you want. Now, my large plants only made this much, but then you put them in a jar. Now I'm going to label this basil with the date on it so that I know. Now basil I go through like crazy, so I don't really need to worry about that, but you don't want them to get like 2, 3, 4 years old. I also have dried rosemary and stuff like that, but that's how I do that. And you can basically do that with any herb. Rosemary's a little bit harder. Oh, I put that in my mortar and pestle after it dries, and I just grind it a little bit. That's how I do that, stuff like that. That's harder to do like this. Okay, so if you're a nomad, or you're thinking about becoming a nomad, or even if you live in a small space, this is the way you can have an herb garden. Now, I did companion planting, and you do have to research that. I always have to look up each individual plant, because that's where I don't retain the knowledge of what can go with what, so I have to look it up. I'm going to leave you with that. Blessed be, and make it a joyful one.